back with the Tuesday edition of Not That It Matters. And again, we have another repeat co-host, and that is none other than the great Derrick Ow. Derrick Ow DQ42. We got a little golfing. We got some big news. We had some tragic news. It's been a wild week of sports since we last talked. How's it going, buddy? How's the Owl Palace?
Well, first, happy Fourth of July to all of our listeners here on the Bench Sports, and
Yes.
yeah, it's been a crazy week. Obviously, it's kind of like life, a roller coaster, and you don't know which way it's gonna go. Um, but quickly, shout out to Joey Chestnut, man, the guy, the
San
ultimate
Jose
guy.
proud.
Yeah, pride of San Jose. 76 hot dogs, which is he broke his own world record. 14 mustard belts, 13 mustard belts. So congratulations to Joey. Obviously, I know people kind of get freaked out that oh, I could see this at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, but come on, man, that takes a
No,
lot of training.
it's special.
That is a lot of training, man, on your jaw, on your digestive system. I mean, the boy knows how to do it. So congratulations to the Jaws, and San Jose State alum too. So what do you know?
Yep, and I will say this: I did meet him at a bar. I met him at 4th Street Pizza in San Jose one time, and it was before I was 21. Otherwise, he wanted to take a shot with me. It would have been pretty funny.
Oh,
But it's a yearly tradition of my family to watch it. And I've been to that Nathan's. It's a cool place to be. It's special. And I'm just happy to see it back. There was the first ever chug contest with Badlands Chugs chugging the gallon, or I think it was a gallon of lemonade, which is wild. And he is a crazy man because then he went on to eat hot dogs right afterwards.
yeah, dude's a legend. Ultimate American legend, by the way. So
Of course, of course. Well, we got a lot of news, but I know I about it yesterday on Down and Distance with Chris. But we do have some sad news, and it's Columbus Blue Jackets goalie Matisse Kivlenix, unfortunately has passed away at 24 years old due to a fireworks accident. He was in a hot tub, and a firework mortar was tilted slightly and hit him right in the chest. It did come out this morning that he was at the house of the Columbus Blue Jackets goaltending coach, which is a whole nother just page of the story, if you will. It's something that nobody could have predicted. I mean, he's a Latvian. He's here. He's going to be training. Um, and it's sad to see. I mean, he's young, and given how the Blue Jackets are probably going to handle their goalie situation, he's probably going to have a roster spot this season. And unfortunately, he had this tragic accident.
yeah, 24 years old, our age, Max, and yeah, thoughts and prayers obviously got to his family, his friends, and obviously his teammates, the guys that share the rink with him day in and day out. Nobody should lose their life at 24 years old, especially this way on 4th of July. Kind of reminds me of the Pierre Paul situation a couple years ago when he,
Yep.
I think they were safe and sane or whatever. He tried to light him off and it blew off like two or three of his fingers.
Yeah.
Could have easily cost him his career. And then, you see him kind of get his redemption story. Of course, won the Super Bowl with the Bucks earlier this year.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just a tragedy. A tragedy. To lose your life at 24 years old and to not even, you only played in the NHL for what, like 2, 3 years max.
He had 8 career games.
Yeah, so it's awful, especially for the Blue Jackets who they're in a rebuilding situation,
Yep.
and
Rebuild, retool, whatever you want to call it.
yeah,
So that's a big loss for them.
and we're gonna easily we're gonna go back to the regular scheduled programming of 81 games, so he would have had more starts. It's just really unfortunate. It's sad. It's heartbreaking, for that to happen because it's easily an avoidable situation. Um, easily avoidable, and it's just really scary. I get, I'm 23, 24. I still get scared seeing like one of my cousins light off a firework because it was crazy here in Salinas and in the Salinas Valley. It was just insane, driving from 101, just see all these fireworks shoot up. It's just, gosh, it's awful. So, like I said, our thoughts go out to his family.
Yep. The
Yeah,
team. I know a lot of people were thinking about him, and I will say this: Dennis Savard, former teammate, now Tampa Bay Lightning, is on playing last night. They did a moment of silence before the game last night, and it just sucks to hear the fans in the background cheering, like yelling stuff. I mean, I don't want to bash the Sharks. I know that's your team, and I work for them, but I hear this stuff all the time. Like, there's a moment of silence. There's always "Let's go Sharks" and all that. So there's group of fans, not a lot, but you can hear them yelling in the background, trying to have a moment of silence. You
Yeah,
know, they want 10 to 15 seconds. You get two because these people are yelling, and the PA announcer needs to step in and be like, "Thank you."
yeah,
And it sucks, especially for the people and the players that knew him, and how tragic this accident was. Like, pay your respects. Like, I understand you're excited for the game, but some things are bigger than the game, and this is one of them.
exactly. Yeah, and especially I know Montreal, obviously one of the biggest fan bases in hockey, and that's those fans that did that. That doesn't speak for the entirety of that fan base, but shame on them for shame on those fans for trying to I guess get into the spotlight at the wrong time. I mean, come on, knuckleheads, you guys, you need to know better here.
Yeah, exactly. So, pay your respects. Sad, tragic loss, but we did have a hockey game last night, and Derek, although I didn't get in on your pick 'em in time because I didn't see the vote, I did say Bolts in 5, and
No,
I do believe that that's going to happen.
oh,
I will say, although Montreal got a little bit outplayed in the first period, they did walk away in the first period, winning 1-0. They ended up winning the game in overtime by a score of, excuse me, by a score of 3-2. It was a good game. Josh Anderson finally came through. Alexander Romanov, rookie, hadn't played. He's only played a few playoff games in his career. He had one goal in the regular season. He gets a big goal. They do take Jesperi Kotkaniemi out of the lineup, who was up there in points. So it was interesting to see that move. It was going to work. Carey Price played really well. Can't put too much on Vasilevsky. I thought the Lightning played well, but was as the Tampa mayor said, maybe they threw the game to go win it at home.
they threw the game. Come
What
on,
did you see what the
they
mayor
threw the
said? The
game.
mayor said that
Oh,
they were like, oh well, since Montreal wasn't gonna let in the friends and family, like the family of the players and the close, of the people actually at the ice, they should lose the game, take it a little easy, give Montreal one game, and then win it at home. And who knows, that might happen.
what
Hang
what is
on.
what is this? The Black Sox scandal? Come on, guy. Come on, Mayor. Obviously it was good to see the Canadians get on the board with the win. Um, when I saw the OT goal, it looks like that's the type. Those are the type of goals you need to score. Those really in the crease, those dirty type goals. Get in front of Vasilevsky, make him try to make a save and then get a rebound. So easily, that's what Montreal did. I watched like 3/4 of the game. Obviously, it was just trying to enjoy the day off on 4th of July, recuperating. But no, good win by the Canadians. They needed that. Obviously, to see the Bell Center just go um, ape, you know what? Um, that's awesome. And obviously, see there's like how many people outside of that Bell Center? Like I don't know, well, like 50, 60,000 people, and I know that place.
Yeah, there's 3,500 we think in there. I mean, tickets are
Yeah,
expensive. How who knows?
3,500.
Yeah, who can? Did I say 35,000? We
No,
know.
you said 30. No, I mean 3,500. When I do the wink wink, I'm like, come on, they let in like another,
We'll see.
buck.
It looks like it. Those lights that you see, I don't know if that's truthfully people like the Sharks. I think they put them on the seats because
Yeah,
there's some moments where it looks really packed and it looks some
yeah,
moments where it's just really empty. But I was
yeah.
listening to NHL Network Radio. They did the math today for about 3,500 people. It's about one every 6 seats is full.
Oh,
Granted, you're going to have groups of people sitting together. Um, and who knows? We haven't really been able to see much of the upper bowl, but I mean, if they're packing in the lower bowl, kind of like what Carolina did when they
mhm.
had their sellout,
Yeah,
where they kind of let the upper bowl be the socially distanced fans, um, and and went from there.
yeah. And of course, it's good to see Barclay Goodrow have some. He's been having some success in Tampa. Just that third line he's
Especially
got.
in the finals, he's got a point in every
Exactly.
game.
Yeah. Where was that for the Sharks?
Well, he did. He was great. It's what got him a first round pick to the Sharks.
Wait, bye bye. See ya.
But yeah, so big game coming up tomorrow, game 5. We'll see you. Hopefully, they're able to play the game. As you know, the tropical storm is going through there. And unfortunately, we'll see if it happens. The Tampa Bay Rays game got canceled today.
Oh wow.
Uh, Hang on, I've got somebody coming in. Derek, take over real quick. I'm at the studio right now.
Yeah, Max is in Parts Incorporated here. But yeah, it's real. Hopefully everybody's doing okay in the Florida area, especially being hurricane season. And usually, you want to get the Stanley Cup Finals in July, and so it should be interesting for the Lightning. See if they can close it out. And I know they want to have another boat parade with tossing the Lombardi Trophy, but we're moving on to bigger and better things. Max, you got what's next up?
I am back. I apologize for that. I am in for those who will be watching this on YouTube, I am in a sound booth at Castaway Creative. Shout out Sean Daniels yet again. And so I'm at his office and it's just a package. So I kept hearing a knock and I thought, oh, somebody, he forgot his keys or something. And they kept knocking and knocking. So I was like, do I need to check this out? Because he's not supposed to be here. He's doing something for the company out on a shoot. But we're back. It was just a UPS man. The package is in. The door's locked. No more issues. We're back. Derrick, thank you for entertaining the crowd.
Well,
Uh,
I was gonna say there's that movie, mid '90s movie, Robert De Niro called The Fan. So that could have been one of your obsessed fans out there. But
oh, of course. I know, just like in Montreal, they're going crazy outside where the game is actually happening.
oh yeah,
You
for
got to
sure.
pay a lot of money to get here. And that's all you can do. I mean, the 3,500 that
Yeah,
they had in Montreal got nothing on being in the studio here. I'm literally in, I think, a 7 foot wide box, 6.5 foot tall black box right now. But it's got good sound.
yeah,
And you know, and I will say this: when they do shoots in here, a lot of times they do recordings, they do teleprompters. There's a little mini TV here. We're doing this at a later time. I might be able to put the NBA Finals Game 1 game on that
oh,
TV as we report. However, that Game 1 Finals game is tonight. How about that
okay,
smooth transition? Giannis this morning, who's been quote unquote getting round the clock treatment, is upgraded from doubtful to questionable to play. I'm a little surprised. I feel like he may go tonight, but in a very limited fashion.
yeah. We saw that a couple years ago. Kevin Durant, played like what 5-10 minutes, and then of course, the rest of the story against the Raptors. To me, I feel like Giannis will be around that same time limit. I mean, I
We'll
think
see.
yeah, this game will mean more for Phoenix because they haven't been there since 1993 and 94, and of course you're going to get that the Phoenix Suns Arena, aka American West Arena,
How
packed.
many name changes that? I mean, I
They've had
mean,
like four, I think. It was there's Casino Arizona or something like
Gila
that.
River.
No, Gila Rivers Coyotes. That's in
Yeah.
Gila. Yeah. But anyways, I think it's gonna be a fun atmosphere. Of course, Phoenix, they haven't had a championship type, anything really since the Diamondbacks in 2001. Max was what, we were four when that happened.
Yes, and I still know
Gonzalez
who
with
they
the
beat.
Luis Gonzalez with the bloop single. But no, it should be a fun atmosphere. I think it's going to come down to the supporting cast. Jameson Crowder versus Chris Middleton, Brooke Lopez versus DeAndre Ayton,
That's gonna be
and
a great matchup.
the X factor is going to be Drew Holiday. Can he just really, he balled out the last two games of the Eastern Conference Finals. Can he do the same thing? But Phoenix, they've been on a mission since the Disney World bubble last year when they went undefeated.
Oh
And then
yeah,
and Chris Paul. It's going to be an entertaining series. But I think if, like I said, if Giannis um, decides to play, I see this series going maybe 6-7, but
yeah,
if it's
agreed.
going to be like Giannis at like 60, 50 to 60%, and then he has the Olympics coming up as well. I got the Suns in five. I got the Suns in five.
Oof, bold.
I don't see the Suns sweeping per se, unless one Milwaukee has like two or three other starters out. I do see the Bucks taking one at home, but yeah, Suns in five, and they will get to celebrate. But my question is, like, if they win and the parade, would you have it at 100 and God, that's like hell freezes over weather, 120-degree weather, and then you had the pavement there in downtown Phoenix. So it's
Well,
like
I'm thinking they might do it in the evening. Like
I would too.
once
Yeah,
the sun goes down, I mean, we'll see because that's gonna be pretty late. They might have to do it at like 7 o'clock or like start the parade at 5, and let it cool off as it gets down. Because even at night, it's still in the 90s. But for those
yeah,
people out there, I mean, they're used to that. That's like 75 at night out here, as 95 out there for them. They're used to it. As
yeah.
my dad always says, it's a quote unquote, it's a dry heat.
Oh,
Um,
yeah,
but we'll see. That's an interesting thought if they do win. I didn't even think about that. You always think of it in the morning, right? Tampa Bay, they did the boat parades the last 2 years, with the Buccaneers and the Lightning. So that's interesting. I didn't even think about that, and this is why I have you on the show because of things like that. Because if you weren't here, I would have literally never thought of that question. So that's something to see. Now I
yeah.
do have Suns in 6. I don't have
Oh,
Suns in 5.
yeah,
Given that Giannis is already questionable now, I
yeah,
do feel that he will make a difference in the series because although he can't shoot like Durant, his release is pretty unblockable. And even in a
Yeah.
limited capacity, he can be a beast down low. He can exploit DeAndre Ayton based off experience. And there are some games where Ayton just doesn't have it. Plus, if you look at the experience, I said this stat yesterday on Down and Distance. It was very funny to me that in this series, there are 24 possible players. There have been a combined 6 games played between all the players.
Wow.
Well, I shouldn't say combined because all 6 of those games are by Jay Crowder of the Phoenix Suns. Nobody
Yeah.
else has played a single game in the NBA Finals in their career other than Jay Crowder, who played 6 last year.
Yeah.
So experience Crowder, he's a lifeline of that team. He's a heartbeat of that team. Chris Paul, he has experience in the regular season, but I mean, he's never been to the third round before this season. Devin
Yeah.
Booker's young, we know that. Monty Williams, he went to the conference finals, I believe, with the Sixers. Yep,
Yep.
against Kawhi in Toronto. That was the ball just sits on the rim for a while. It's a great shot. Still one of my favorite moments in NBA history. I think that was just iconic, just to see the crowd crowding around, Kawhi squatting, Embiid sitting, and everybody just waiting for the ball to either roll left and in or right and out.
Yeah.
But I digress. So the experience of these teams are going to be interesting. We know Brooke Lopez has been far, but not to the finals. And he's been good. He's been stellar. He's going to need to be good. He needs to cancel out Ayton, especially if Ayton goes off. I will say this: the Suns are favored minus 170 to 150 in the series. I think those odds do change if Giannis comes back and if he plays tonight and if he looks at full strength and plays close to full strength, he's only going to get better for every game, especially in some days where they have 2 days off between games
Yeah.
because they play Friday and they don't play till Sunday. Or sorry, they play Tuesday, Thursday, and then they play Sunday on the travel day, and then they have another 2 days after that. So it's going to be interesting to see how many minutes he plays tonight if he does play, as well as how the rest of the team, like you said, Drew Holiday needs to be an X factor for sure. He was in the last game, and I think and I'll say this: Giannis limited will create the ability for Drew Holiday to control the play more and run the offense, which is what he's meant to do. Giannis is not the great ball handler; he can run the offense well, but I think one of the reasons why we saw the Bucks have such a good offensive game against the Hawks in Game 6 is because they were able to run a more smooth offense, a more traditional offense, you should say. I mean, Drew Holiday, we've known him for a while. He feels like he's been in the league forever. He's a good ball mover. He can shoot. He can be an X factor. Now he's not as consistent, which doesn't make him a star, but when he's on, he can be good. And in the playoffs, he's one of those guys you want to have on your team.
Yeah. Plus, watch out for PJ Tucker too. I mean, he made some clutch threes, especially during that closing game 5 and 6. Watch out for PJ Tucker. I feel like he's going to be one of those guys that just makes 4 to 5 baskets and could steal game 1 for the Bucks. They played terrific. Granted, of course, it was against the Hawks, and they were a young, inexperienced team. Trae Young was about like 60 60-70%, didn't get that jump off his ankle.
Of
Um,
course.
but and shout out to Trey Young, man. That guy just went through, probably one of the better postseasons I've ever seen in a while.
Just with
He
so
took
much
on,
adversity too,
yeah,
just with crowds. He took on that villain role,
yeah,
and I think we see the highlights of him in high school and in college. He's kind of always looked at his height. Oh, he's too
yeah,
small. You look at that. He's always kind of had that underdog role where he just makes it so that he uses that as to put himself in pressure situations. And
yeah,
I think he excels in those situations
yeah,
more than a lot of the league.
yeah,
I would say that's what makes him a star. I mean, you look at him, you're like, oh, Steph Curry, but I don't think he's like Steph Curry. Yes, they have the range and similar play style, but I feel like Trey Young is 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 doing a really nice job of not letting people compare him to Steph Curry and kind of creating an own name for himself, which I
yeah,
think is a tremendous thing to do, not only for him but for that organization. Because the
yeah,
Hawks, there was that one year where they finished second in the with Millsap and Horford and Corver, and they just kind of haven't been relevant since. And this year was a really big step up. They
yeah,
took the interim tag off Nate McMillan, so I think the Hawks are a good up and coming team. I don't know. I know you don't have TikTok, but it's kind of cool. Sometimes I scroll through TikTok and their organist, their in arena organist, goes live on TikTok, so
oh
you can
well,
kind of see what he does. He posts videos. Pretty cool to see what they do.
yeah. Yeah, they're a trending team, and of course their GM president Travis Schlenk came from the Warriors. So I think it should be fun to see that team grow, and they just need. I think that they got a lot of experience this postseason. I think they'll probably want to get another guard with Trey. But of course Trey, I think the comparisons to Steph. Listen, Steph Curry is a once in a generation
He's a
super.
generational talent. He's
Yeah,
on.
and
We won't see
Trey,
him
yeah,
almost ever again, probably.
and Trey, he's on that same track, but I think, like I said, he needs just to maybe work on his defense a little bit. But that comes with just experience and watching
Yep.
film, playing it in an official full season, not having that interrupted like he did last year. But give credit to the Hawks, man. They balled out, and now we got one of the more unique finals matchups in NBA history, and it should be fun. And LeBron's gonna be promoting Space Jam too. So
Well, we know LeBron's going to want to get his words in. Look,
yeah,
LeBron, you're a good player. You're no longer I mean, you are the face, but it's because he's forcing himself in there.
yeah,
People like Trey Young, people like Giannis, Luka Doncic, right? Those guys are
yeah,
becoming. Jason Tatum's another guy. They're becoming the faces of the league. Like
yeah,
LeBron, do you see Michael Jordan? Yeah, he's an owner of the Hornets, but he's not just stuffing his face in wanting to be a name. Like
yeah,
when you leave the game, which you're eventually going to have to,
yeah,
like you can't be the be all end all and be like, oh, it's the NBA. I'm still relevant here. Yes, you'll be relevant. But if you keep talking the way you are and saying, like, oh, you had this legacy and people need to remember me after the game, then you're going to Scottie Pippen levels. And that's been pretty embarrassing, especially lately.
yeah. I mean, Scottie Pippen's one of the better, one of the at least top 10, top 15 greatest players of all time. Of course, gets lost in the sidekick conversation with MJ. But I know we got other topics, but I can't imagine how big Giannis winning an NBA title would be, not just for the league and for Milwaukee, but for Greece, for that country.
Oh, yeah.
An emerging basketball market, and obviously how big that will be, for Giannis to bring in the Larry O'Brien Trophy to, his hometown in Greece. I think that would be insane. I could kind of compare it to like when the Raptors got the NBA title and they brought it to Canada.
Right. That was
That
just
would be
monumental for the nation
yeah,
itself.
that would be a whole nother level to me. A whole nother.
And hearing that reminds me of what I don't know if you saw this, what Luka Doncic said. They asked him which would be he just had Slovenia qualify for the Olympics.
Yeah,
He said which would he be more proud of, an NBA title or an Olympic gold? And he said an Olympic gold. These players in all sports want to be like they want to win things for their country. So when
yeah,
the NHL in 2000 was it 18 couldn't go, you know, these players want to go. And so in the new collective bargaining agreement, they want to win for their country. It's very important to everybody in any sport. Look at Todd Frazier in baseball. He's going to the Olympics. He's out of the MLB, but he
yeah,
wanted to keep playing so bad. He wants to win gold for his country, which
yeah,
is any sport, any athlete wearing your country, whether that's America, Canada, Slovenia, Greece, Italy, Germany, whatever it is, wearing your nation's colors and your flag on your chest and playing for the nation, that everybody from your nation is rooting for you.
yeah,
I'm an Arsenal fan and Harry Kane's wearing England. If I'm English, I'm rooting for them,
yeah,
right? Troops is a man at Barstool, big Arsenal fan. He used to run Gunner, Arsenal fan TV. He used to be there. He works at Barstool now. He's from London. He's a huge Arsenal fan. Harry Kane scores those goals, he's going nuts. So wearing your nation's colors and flags, it brings people together and it inspires the players behind them.
yeah. And and then talking about the Olympics with golf, especially, for men's, you got Bryson DeChambeau, Justin Thomas, Xander Schauffele, Colin Morikawa, and then the girls, you have the Corda sisters, Lexi Thompson, Danielle Kane. Those are superstar names, and I know Dustin Johnson's going to skip because of scheduling conflicts, but the Olympics are once in 4 years. That's once in a lifetime. You're not going to have the same top four, top 10 players in the world
No.
in 4 years. So, it's one of those experiences that you'll take with you until you're put 6 feet below dirt. Um, and I think that's something that is just once in a lifetime. And if you have the opportunity, go do it. Go do it. And I know it's going to be unique circumstances in Tokyo with the not no cheering from the home fans or whatever, and they have to go to the crowd has to go immediately home, and I know it's not going to be most of the athletes can't even attend the opening ceremony, which is one of the bigger events on the calendar, and regardless of sport, to be there standing, walking around, representing your country, but it's still the Olympic Games, it's still the reigns. And by the way, let's get Shakari Richardson to Tokyo, please. Come on, man.
Well, she's going. She
I know,
can
but I
compete in
mean,
the
you know what I mean
the
for
four
her
by
for her
100
rent.
relay, I
Yeah,
believe. But
for her rent. Come on, man. Who's
so
on the the shots there for the reins. Come on.
Look, I'll say this. I saw, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but there's a transgender male, now female, competing in the Olympics for America in weightlifting. So
Wow.
genetically, that person is a male, and scientifically, males have more strength than females.
Hmm.
He's going into a women's competition where strength is what measured on.
Hmm.
How is a male who is changing genders to female, so taking estrogen, which I have no problem with, go for it, be your person you want to
Yeah.
be. How is that fair to the
Hmm.
other girls of the other nations and of America? Because they stand no chance. If they do, it'll be a miracle, it'll be a failed rep, it'll be an injury. And I don't want that to happen and want it to be a truthful gold. So, how is this person who's going to be genetically and not by choice stronger than the other competitors
Hmm.
able to win a gold with no issues whatsoever? And Sha'Carri Richardson, because she took a performance decreaser because her mother had died.
Yeah, her
Um,
biological mother.
and I understand. I said this with Nathan on Friday, but Derek, it's so if where she said I'm human, right? It's legal there, and it doesn't. It's in the spirit of the game and the sport of the game. Like she knew the rules, but like this is now a topic that needs to be discussed, right? On Friday with Nathan, I talked about, with Michael Phelps. We know he did all this stuff. We don't know if he
Yeah.
did it during testing and things like that when he could
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Is Are they trying to make a point? So that's, get her, she's young, which is good, but like you said, it's the Olympics. You never know. Something could happen. It's 4 years, well now 3 years away for the next one. Um, so get her to Tokyo. At least she can compete in some events, but it's disappointing to see that she can't go there to win full gold in her main event, the 100 meter dash.
Yeah, just like the yeah, UFC, it took them like mixed martial arts took them what 10, 15 years to embrace weed was okay. I mean, thank you to the Diaz brothers for paving the way for that. And I think, like I said, most of these decision makers from the IOC are from Europe, so they're not really exposed to the marijuana scene here in America. But I think the times are changing, folks, and they need to change the rule. And granted, I get it. You've had these rules for what 100 years, 150 years, but listen, times are changing. It's 2021. I think you gotta, there has to be some dialogue and not just, oh well, we'll make up these rules as you go. No, you won't. I mean, you didn't even hear her story, and I know she was on the Today Show, I believe, where she mentioned that her biological mother passed away. So listen, it's just one of those things where you gotta be open to listening to the athletes, and the IOC has not done that. They don't have a good history doing that.
Or
Um,
listening to the other leagues too. They don't have a good relationship with the NHL. It's like the IOC is just, they want to be so special. They want to be their own. And I
yeah,
get it. Look, Richardson broke the rules, and although at the moment I agree with the decision because she did break the
yeah,
rules,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
this needs to now be the turning point to discuss these types of rule changes in not only the Olympics but other sports and places. And obviously, weed is not legal in all states,
yeah,
but because in order for that to happen, marijuana testing. I mean, it's not like that's a performance enhancer. So it's integrity of the game. I mean, it slows your
yeah.
brain down. So although I do agree and that she, broke the rules, um, this needs to now be a talking point.
Facts.
But before we move on here, we got some fun stuff coming up today. I feel like we're back in the pandemic. What's coming up with the match with Nicholson, Brady, DeChambeau, and Rogers. I do want to shout out peakclothes.com, bench two, $5 off. And go to peakclothes.com. Great quality stuff. Their summer collection's really good. I got some stuff coming in the mail.
Oh,
Check them out. It's bench two, the number two. It's gonna be a great time if you guys get the stuff that I saw somebody wear peak clothing at the A's game actually, and I was like, oh wait, that's peak. That's it. That's coming. I know that shirt. So use bench two, $5 off. They're good company, high quality stuff. That's peakclothes.com, PEAK clothes.com. Use bench number two like Derek Jeter. But let's get into it. We've got the match, the Capital One, the match coming up in about an hour's time here. It's 1:30 Pacific with Phil Mickelson, Tom Brady, Bryson DeChambeau, and Aaron Rodgers. Lots of questions. It's Tom Brady, we know he's consistent. We know Phil won the Open, or won the Players. So
yeah,
that pairing is going to be just fine. But DeChambeau parted ways with his caddy, and Aaron Rodgers might be parting ways with his team. So it's vets versus, I guess, drama queens, I guess, even though they're not total drama queens. But it'll be fun. I say this that it reminds me of the pandemic because, there wasn't much on, and we got that cool with Manning, Phil, Woods, and Brady, and it was kind of cool to watch. And there wasn't much on, but like there's the NBA Finals on this afternoon. The Euros are playing right now. There's Germany, or no, sorry, Spain and Italy right now. And it'll be fun to watch, but I just don't think it's going to have the same amount of pizzazz because I'm being honest with you. I knew it was coming up, but I thought it was on the weekend. I didn't know it was today until I started seeing headlines last night saying, "Oh, check out the match tomorrow." Derek, did I lose you? I think I did lose it. I did lose Derek. Don't worry about it.
Sorry about that. My dad called me. This is the perks of live TV, so I'll be right back. I know Max has me. I swear we're getting
I
fan
got you.
voices everywhere today.
I know people, the 3,500 outside want to get us in, but all right, I'll take care of that. But we got the match coming up. It's taking place at Moonlight Basin. I mean, there's a 777-yard par five. It's in Montana. It's going to be interesting. We know DeChambeau. Well, it'll be interesting because in a lot of these broadcasts, we like to see the tweets, the people coming in, commenting on it. We get the open mics. We know Brady can be a jokester and be really sarcastic. Rogers can do the same, and it's Phil. Do they poke fun at DeChambeau possibly, or does Brady? We know Brady's going to poke fun at Rogers for the Packers stuff, and we'll hear some Jeopardy talk. But with DeChambeau not sticking with his caddy, the issues with Koepka, it'll be interesting to see what comes out of this. Obviously, we know we're gonna get Chuck talking on it, things like that. It's gonna be a fun experience. A lot of the times, it's really fun to listen to, especially Phil Mickelson sometimes because Mickelson almost teaches golf while he's playing in these situations. When he's playing in these situations, especially with Tom Brady, who he's been partnered with before, a lot of times, like if there's a chip, if there's a putt from distance, he'll give more of the technicalities of what type of shot to play, a 50-degree, a 60-foot putt, how much power to hit on it. And it's really fun for somebody like me who's not very good at golf, but I've just started playing, more committed, to see those things and hear the thought process of what goes into. And although this is, for charity for the most part, and money and fun, it's interesting to see a professional's thought process in going into this. And it'll be interesting to see if we get more of an open book of DeChambeau's thought process going into this, because without the mic'd up that we only get the few here or there mic'd up, the fairway shots of John Rahm and things like that in the US Open. This will be a full on, like, mic'd up, close up situation. And to see these guys, a lot of them, DeChambeau, who's one of the top golfers in the world. Obviously Phil, he won the Players. And then you've got Rogers. We know he can play, and he's been hanging out. We'll see how he's been working on his golf game with no football and with Jeopardy. And then there's Brady. Brady, I'm sure he's going to want redemption for his last performance when he ripped his pants, which I thought was hilarious, by the way. It'll be a fun time to watch, and it's going to take place 2:30 Pacific. It's going to be a good, it's a round of golf, so it's something you want to put on the background. We'll see. And then the other thing to look out for is going to be how far can DeChambeau hit the ball, because if DeChambeau can hit the ball far, it's going to be pretty interesting to watch. Now, I know Derek, who is just sat back down at his computer, put up the pick'em of who do you think is going to win and how far do you think his drive is going to go. Derek, how far do you think Bryson DeChambeau's longest drive is going to go?
Well, let me give a quick shout out to my dad, everybody. Shout out to Father Al. I love him. And this is the perks of doing these, being a student broadcaster, student broadcasters doing this at our houses. I know Max is in
50-50. Sometimes I'm at the house.
Yeah.
Last show we were at the house.
Yeah, in the studio. So listen, folks. Okay, we don't have assistants here. I wish I had an assistant. Just handed my phone. There you go. But no, obviously with the match, I love this event just because you could see, the athletes, the celebrities. I wish they would, go with like some LPGA Tour pros. I think, that needs to happen. But I know ratings are driven by Phil, PGA champion, by the way, pulled off that incredible feat at Kiawah Island.
He's going to talk about that too.
Yeah,
He's going to say,
yeah.
by the way, I won the Players.
Yeah.
Or I won the PGA.
And then, of course, you got Thomas Brady. The now 7-time Super Bowl champion. Then on the other side, I mean, I don't know what's been going on. Bryson, he was about 5, 6 holes away from winning his second straight U.S. Open, and then all
It
hell broke
crumbled.
loose. Yeah, I mean, all hell broke loose for a lot of players on the back nine on Father's Day, and he just crumbled. Hit it near Stella Artois beer box, and then he was defending at the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit. Broke away from his caddy, who's been with him for I think like 4 or 5 years. Been there with all 8 of his career PGA Tour wins. And then you got the Aaron Rodgers saga, which exploded on draft night, with Adam Schefter saying he wants out, and then you see him, do these interviews, Kenny Mayne, and doing Jeopardy, growing out his hair, marrying Cheyenne Woodley. I mean, I don't know what's been going on in Green Bay with Aaron. Maybe you should just gone for it instead of kicking that field goal. Then
Well,
that would.
yeah, trust me, I've said that multiple times. But who knows, Derek? Maybe he's been
Yeah.
working on his golf with no football in his mind.
Oh yeah, and I know Aaron will be in Lake Tahoe for the American Century Championship. Of course, a lot of the celebrities and athletes will be playing at Edgewood Tahoe. But it should be interesting, and don't worry, they're not. The money is going to charity, going to Feeding America, a lot of local Big Sky, Montana, charities. But I like it. I like how it's moving around too. I will say though, it's going to be interesting, like you mentioned. As I think Spain just scored on the Euros, and I don't know what kind of celebration they were looking at the mic. Um, but I think with Bryson, it's just going to be how far can I hit it. I know there's these 17 fulls, like 700 yards, which is
Yeah,
got to be
777 yards.
yeah. Oh my gosh. We'd be teeing off for the bread cheese. That should be interesting. I think we're gonna go all 18 holes. I don't see this ending, before 18. Because Bryson can hit a mile. Phil is gonna try to hit him a mile with his wellness coffee, and then of course you're gonna see Brady and Rogers going back and forth. So it should be interesting. I love it though because they're all mic'd up, so usually you don't hear a lot of the broadcaster play by play. And I like it. I know it's usually you'll see it Black Friday, Thanksgiving, um, but really, I think it's a fun way of just showcasing golf and getting people involved, getting people introduced to golf because not a lot of people want to watch a tournament. you know,
Right. That's what I was saying. And I will say this while you were gone, Derek. I was
yeah,
talking about how these matches, what we've seen is we almost see Phil teaching golf while he's there. And as somebody
yeah,
who's really started committing to playing about a year now, um, to see him discuss with Brady the type of chip and how hard to hit it, the
yeah,
putt, where he wants to aim, things like that, it gives casual viewers an insight of what goes on in the professional's head.
yeah,
And this is one, we occasionally get the fairway, like, oh, hit it this far, right? It's very simple. This is
yeah.
going to be 18 holes of just total open mic, like,
Match play, yeah,
right, we're gonna know exactly what they're thinking when they're thinking, and then for a new age type player like Bryson DeChambeau,
yeah,
we'll really get an insight thinking of how it's going on. The other thing I touched on, Derek, and I want you to touch on this is we always see the tweets and the stuff like that coming in, people commenting. My question is, are they gonna play? We know Brady's gonna poke fun at Rodgers for Jeopardy and possibly the Packers. We know Phil's gonna brag about winning the PGA championship, but are we gonna see people and tweets poke fun about DeChambeau not only for his caddy, but with Brooks Koepka?
yeah. And by the way, that they're gonna play together. That's bound to happen.
Oh, it's gonna
You
definitely.
you just can't, it's like a rocket ship. You just can't leave the rocket there and then like, okay, I hate this astronaut. Well, you're all going to the moon regardless. That's going to be the same thing. I mean, you're all playing the same sport. You're all going to be playing most of it, the same tournaments. It's bound to happen. And of course, you got the Ryder Cup later this year. They're going to be teammates. We all know that. So, it's going to be really interesting to see kind of how the trash talking begins. Or I know Bryson's been poking fun of the deflate gate, spy gate, all that. um and I mean, all 4 of them, they're cool, they respect each other, so it's not like they hate each other. But I mean, yeah, I would love to see Brooks maybe against Bryson, and love that dynamic. But like I said, Phil and Tiger are the 2 guys that drive in ratings for golf in
Oh,
terms
big
of
time.
and without Phil or Tiger, then the event's just like, okay, you can put it on a golf channel. But especially with this being prime time, some people might have the day off, might have had a little bit too much of the bubbly, and
That was
decided to
yesterday.
yeah. I mean, I would have liked to have this event yesterday too. I think that would have been good, but I know Bryson, they thought he was going to repeat in Detroit and miss the cut and have some caddy drama, but we'll see what happens. It should be a fun atmosphere in Montana. I think there's going to be a selected spectators there, so it won't be a lot of people, but it'll be nice to see the sights and sounds of Montana. And I'm going to Montana in a couple of weeks, so get
Look
to
at you
see some.
traveling, man, all vaxxed
Yeah,
up and traveling.
yeah, back in the open free world. So I'll be good to see Montana because usually when you think of Montana, you don't think of live sporting events coming from there. So it's good to see the event moving from started out in Shadow Creek in Las Vegas,
Yep.
went to what was the one? No, went to Tiger's Course in Florida.
Florida,
I got the name of it, and it's gonna come back to me. Don't worry. And then of course went to Arizona.
Arizona
So
with Steph. Yep.
go to
I will
Montana.
I will say this though briefly. You
Yeah.
you talked about how there's going to be selected spectators. I almost kind of like
Yeah.
it with if I hope it's not many because I
No.
really like those. I really like those when it was limited or no fans
Yeah.
because it was really cool just to kind of follow them and just kind of like I felt like I was there. Like because if I'm there as a select like I if there's what 100 people there, like I'm gonna walk with them every hole,
Oh, for
almost
sure.
like you see at the end of Happy Gilmore where you see everybody falling behind around the green. I
Yeah.
feel like we
Yeah.
could see that situation type happening.
Yeah.
And so I don't think this is going to have this amount of pizzazz. There's other stuff going on like the NBA finals, the Euros
Yeah.
is going on, like I said before, but I feel like
Yeah.
we'll get some good moments out of this. Obviously Charles Barkley being there chiming it in. But we do,
Oh yeah.
give me your last thoughts on the match. It's going to be fun.
Well, we saw rain at medalists in the second match last May. We saw, uh, Phil and Charles and Shaq telling Charles you can't read. So you'll probably see the similar stuff. But I've never cheered for Tom Brady in my life. This will be one of the few times I do. I think it's going to be film TB12 taking it home in 18 holes or playoff because the sun never goes down in Montana. Let's be real here. So you'll be seeing some fireworks though, and I'll be watching all of it.
Speaking of fireworks, on July 4th, we got the all-star rosters. And man, there's some snubs, but the MLB All-Star game, it looks to be a fun one. About 5 minutes before we came on the air, my favorite A's player, Matt Olson, has committed to the home run derby, and he's gonna hit some majestic ones.
Yeah, it's about I kind of knew if he got selected, which I knew that was a slam dunk. He would get added. Of course, the attention will be on Vlad Guerrero Jr. and
Pete
Shohei
Alonso.
Ohtani, and Pete Alonso, by the way, defending. So it's gonna be fun, and Coors Field especially. The A's haven't had a lot of success at Coors Field, which for whatever reason I think they're trying to hit the ball too hard or trying to hit it to Utah, but no, it's good to see Matteo get selected. I mean, the guy's had an MVP caliber season. He won't get the MVP. Of course, we got Otani.
Vlad
He's
Guerrero. I mean, don't get me
Yeah,
wrong. I was saying that too. He's
yeah,
been MVP caliber, but I
yeah,
just don't think he's done enough to kind of separate himself. Now, who's to say those guys either get injured, which I don't hope
mhm,
for, or they have a little bit of a down second half.
yeah,
The other thing to worry for is Olsen hit under 200, but 191 last year. He's hitting 280 right now. We hear all these things of how the home run derby messes up your swing. That's the one thing I hope that we don't see is because Matt Chapman, who's hitting for average right now, who's getting his average up, his power hasn't been there. The A's haven't had much power outside of Matt Olson. A little bit Mark Canna, but he's on the shelf. Sean
yeah,
Murphy's here and there, but
yeah,
Olson, who's got 20 bombs, 21 bombs on the year, I believe.
yeah,
Hopefully he doesn't mess up his swing too much. And he's already got that interesting swing where he got his hands out in front of him and then he brings them back out to the side. But
yeah.
the
Well,
rest of the AL,
yeah,
I think another, congrats to Mike Zunino. I think that's a big one. Jared Walsh, well deserved. Adolis Garcia, Cedric Mullins, those guys, first time All Stars. It's good to see them out there.
mhm,
The ones I don't agree with are Joey Gallo. And of the pitchers, it would have been nice to see Chris Bassett on there, but Lance Lynn and Rodon have been terrific. And Trevino, I would have liked to see there, but Detroit needed an all star, so they got Gregory Soto. But we'll see. Maybe Bassett gets in for Bieber, who's out.
yeah. And by the way, Matt Olson's swing reminds me like a young Mickey Mantle. I mean, anytime you see him, immediately make contact, hold the pose, instantly. But like I said, the All Star game's turning into a popularity contest. I
Oh,
mean,
big time.
Matt Olson should have been in the top three or whatever the voting was. And no disrespect to you, Ligurio, who's having another solid season for them. Doesn't get talked about rarely. Jose Abreu, who's been one of baseball's best sluggers for the past 4 to 5 years. But come on, and I get it. The A's, oh, they're not marketable. Listen, we're in the fourth, fifth biggest market. I mean, it's up to the owner to market the team, and he has done that for 15, 20 years. And they should have had, they should have Chris Bassett in there, Sean Mania, who's really turned it around,
Yep.
Lou Trevino, who's just gone about his business, done his thing.
He
Um,
just won reliever of the month in
yeah,
June.
I mean, come on, come on. But I know
The other one I can't believe is in, and it starts to say as a Yankee fan, except it doesn't really hurt, is how in the hell is a Rollins Chapman an all
I
star?
don't
Like,
know.
I can give Derrick Cole the benefit of the doubt. Like, his last 9 starts since Spider Tack has
Yeah,
disappeared have been rough. Like, he
yeah,
still leads the AL in whip. He's still up there and wins. He gives his team chances to win. And I don't believe, his spin rates have been pretty close to where they were. Maybe they dropped a little bit, but it's more control based with him losing the sticky stuff. But I mean, the whole, other than a few guys, the whole league is starting to really kind of come back down to earth in terms of pitching. But
yeah.
in terms of Aroldis Chapman, I mean, like, really, you're gonna put Chapman in there, who's been god awful. He
Oh
has an
my
ERA
gosh.
at 5 for the season. He has over his last
Yeah,
four appearances or 5 appearances, he's got an ERA over 100. And Lou Trevino, who's got an ERA below 1.5 and allowed 2 earned runs in the month of June, isn't an all star. Like, I understand, but like Chapman's not, doesn't even throw 103 anymore. He throws 97. So does
yeah,
Trevino. Like, the excitement factor is not even there for Chapman anymore. So, we'll see. I hope Bassett gets in for Bieber,
yeah.
but I feel like he won't because, like you said, Derek, it's a popularity contest.
Marketing contest. And by the way, we're not leaving any giant fans out before they come DMX and I on our social media. But Brandon Crawford, Buster Posey got named. They hit the fountain of youth because those guys look like they were
Especially Posey.
2010. Yeah, Posey comeback player of the year immediately because the dude's just been unreal. I know he got banged up on Independence Day. Had took a foul tip. It was a really awkward injury
It's off his
against
thumb, I
that.
believe.
Yeah, off his thumb. And then Kevin Gosman. I mean, the guy's been solid.
Holy
He's
crap!
always been
Where did that come from?
he's always been one of those guys that's like your third or fourth guy, and then Giants took a chance on him last year, and of course you're like, can he do this in a 162 game season the way he pitched last year? Got the Giants within one game, or you can say one strike of being in the playoffs last year, and then Gosman's just been unreal, 8-2. I know he took a no hitter yesterday to the seventh inning against St. Louis, but the dude's been sensational. Um, and the Giants, I mean, they've been surprising. Of course, you think they're going to fall off, and they don't. They've just been steady Eddie. And of course, the Dodgers are right on the heels. But I mean, the Dodgers are kind of in some hot water with Trevor Bauer in that situation.
Right.
You got the Padres still working in the background. So NL West should be fun. And I think the AL West, it's a two-man race. It's the A's or Astros. Angels are basically trying to sniff a wild card berth. You could say that about the Mariners in Texas. Well, I think they'll be trading a lot of some players and trying to fill up the Globe Life copycat Minute Maid ballpark field. So
Yeah. In the NL, we know the starters. Good for Adam Frazier being a starter. Good for Jesse Winker.
yeah,
Of the key guys in the reserves, like you said, I think Brandon Crawford is a good one. It's good to see Chris Bryant back there. Jake Cronenworth had a good season. Mookie Betts is a little questionable. He's been in the field really nice, but his hitting hasn't been there necessarily for average. I think Chris Taylor is a good guy to see on that team. Sucks that Kyle Schwarber just had that hamstring injury. He was having a home run derby in the regular season.
oh yeah,
And it would have been fun to watch him hit in Colorado, especially. So a little bummed he can't get in. Of the pitchers, the key ones that Gosman's another guy to get in. Marquez has been flirting with no hitters for the last couple of years. Zach Wheeler's another guy, and the key starter for me that I think really deserves to be there and is there is Trevor Rogers of Miami. Man, I mean, that team, you don't think of Miami being a good team or having good players, but he's had a tremendous year from Miami. He's been their ace. He's been the brother of Tyler Rogers of the San Francisco Giants. So it's good to see him out there. And of the relievers, Craig Kimbrell's back in, Mark Melancon's back in, and for youngster Alex Reyes coming back from Tommy John, and pitching as well as he is this year, he is great. And then obviously Josh Hader, who has led in, I believe, 3 earned runs on the season to get in. That's a no-brainer to have him there.
yeah. And I think for the Giants, Anthony DeSclafani. I mean, I didn't even heard that guy until they signed him, and he's been pitching
He leads the
sensational.
MLB in shutouts,
Yeah,
and it'll be interesting to
I
see
think
because
yeah,
DeGrom said he probably won't pitch. So if he doesn't go, could he get in?
yeah, he might get in. But it should be fun in Denver next week, of course, the All Star break, and then I expect some trades to be happening after that for both Bay Area ball clubs, maybe your Yankees. I don't know what direction they're going in. They've been stuck in neutral since
Well, I don't know. I think they're in reverse. They're pretty bad. But they vow to keep Cashman and Boone. And if you heard me last week with Kevin on Wednesday, that's an ordeal.
Oh
I'll
my
just say
god.
that much. But it'll be interesting to see who else fills out the home run derby field. That's always one of the fun things. Obviously, I don't believe we're gonna have any back gone. Gonna
No,
miss
they
Chris Berman,
yeah.
especially here because we're gonna get a lot of back because it's Colorado.
Yeah,
Um,
you're gonna get a fourth deck shots up there.
yeah, if Matt Olson touches 500, I'm not surprised. Same thing
Yeah.
with Vlad and Alonso as well.
You're
If
you're
Otani and if Otani's, we know Otani's going to be really good.
yeah.
Um, I will say this: it's going to be kind of cool because they are making a special rule, or so I think is they're gonna pitch Otani and use him as a DH, which I think as a league, I think that's a good thing. Protect your stars, especially in the All Star game. He deserves to be there. Although, I think his pitching is a little bit overhyped. The Yankees put up 7 on him. Granted, his control was not on that day. He's a very good pitcher. He's an all-star caliber pitcher. His hitting is world class.
Yeah.
So it'd be fun to watch him the whole weekend. We know, and I know some A's fans are tired of hearing about him. But if you're really tired about hearing about him, don't watch the All Star game because it's going to be all about him and Tatis. So
Especially,
it's
yeah. Especially and don't mean to interrupt because I know we got 9 minutes left, but especially, with Mike Trout being out, Mike Trout's been the best baseball player in the world, face of the MLB. And I know people want to include Tatis and Ronald Acuna, Ozzy Albies in there. But Otani's really taken the mantle, especially growing up from the generation of Ichiro and Hideki Matsui, and then now you're seeing this guy who not a lot of Japanese hitters, they don't hit for power. I think we've seen that for Matsui and for Ichiro. So
Ichiro.
yeah, so to think to see Otani hit second deck, third deck bombs at Yankee Stadium, and to see him kind of take that mantle of trying to be, trying to keep the Angels in this, in the playoff race because they've been playing a little bit better. But like I said, it's just been amazing, and this is coming from an A's fan. It's been amazing to see kind of his growth. From where he started 3 years ago to now being one of the best baseball players in the world, regardless of position. And it'll be interesting, you know, how Kevin Cash, the Rays manager, uses him. Will he start the game as the pitcher and then use him as DH, or how? When is he going to be a pitcher? So it'll be interesting. But we'll see what happens.
Of all people to manage the team to try and figure that out, Kevin Cash is the one to do it. He has those weird lineup decisions. He's always the one
Yeah,
taking pitchers out early, so perfect guy to do it. And it'll be fun to watch. And I think people kind of forgot Mike Trout, which says something about the MLB not really having a face of the league.
yeah,
We thought it was Trout, but now it's Otani and Tatis, but you don't hear them speak out outside of baseball. It'll be bummed. Trout made it, deserves to make it, even though he's not playing. I can't pick another center fielder that didn't make it that deserves to make it. Laureano only swings
yeah.
for power. He could have a much better season if he didn't do that.
He got hurt.
Cedric and Cedric Mullins has been good. He's an all-star. But it'll be fun. Obviously, Aaron Judge is there. He's the one Yankee that I believe deserves to be there. Gary Sanchez, who's been very hot lately, he's another Yankee that I think deserves to be there. But congrats. I mean, tell Perez, and I think it should be Perez and Zunino, but I think you should have included another catcher, 3 catchers, just in case. But in terms of the Austin game, it's going to be a fun weekend. And hopefully Atlanta gets it soon. I do feel bad for them. That I know that town would have loved it. It's a new stadium. But we've got big news, and I know a lot of the listeners that I have now aren't huge into UFC, but
No.
we've got the notorious Conor McGregor this weekend. Uh,
Yes.
as well as Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Gilbert Burns, and former NFL defensive end Greg Hardy's also fighting, and one of the best up and coming fighters in Sean O'Malley in the main card in UFC 264. Coming up this weekend in T-Mobile, we're gonna have a full crowd. UFC's been off for a little bit, and we know Connor sells. It's 1-1. It's the third fight with Dustin Poirier. And I am excited to see that fight, but I'm also very excited to see Gilbert Burns fight. He deserves a chance at the title again, especially if he wins this. He's a good fighter to root for. Greg Hardy, I think, is getting overhyped. I don't see him winning to Tai Tuivasa. There's Irene Alanda and Yana I don't know Kunsiaka, I think is how you say it. So there's a women's
Yeah.
fight going on the main card.
Yeah.
But Derrick, we've got a fun card. You know what's going to bring in for those that haven't earned UFC. You still know who proper number 12 is, Conor McGregor. DQ of the three fights that I want to talk about are the Poirier, McGregor, Thompson Burns, and the O'Malley fight. Even though O'Malley's opponent was had to back out, so O'Malley should win. He's a minus 800. That's right, 835 favorite to win. Give me your predictions and how do you think they're going to end of those fights?
It's good to see the UFC back at T-Mobile. One thing about the corporate warehouse, aka the Apex, I kind of didn't like it. I mean, it's just like you're basically fighting in a warehouse, and I get it. UFC has that money just off of I-95 in Vegas. Driven by their facility, really nice facility. But I mean, there's nothing like fighting in front of an arena with 20,000 people. I wonder when they're going to use Allegiant Stadium. I've been wondering the same thing. Maybe when it's Diaz, McGregor, Khabib, because I believe Khabib will come back.
I
but
don't.
no, yeah. Oh, who knows with that dude? Who knows? The agent tweets for him. Who knows with him? But the Sugar Show is back on the airwaves, and he'll do something crazy with his knockouts. Gilbert Burns, he's fought amazingly well. He just got beat by his former teammate, in Usman a couple months ago. And Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, I mean, his style of fighting, you just don't see anymore with that karate style. Gave Tyron Woodley fits in the two fights. Now can Wonderboy try to make sure to cover Burns, because Burns has a really underrated ground game. So we'll see what happens there. But of course, everybody wants to know Conor versus Dustin 3. I think the second fight, Conor, he used more of a boxing, orthodox stance. He just stood there. And, the Conor of old, the prime Conor, when you knew he was on, he just moves his feet and he lets the opponent make the mistake. And I just felt like he was too much of a stationary target in that second fight. And, Poirier's improved leaps and bounds above as a fighter. And Poirier's a good dude. I mean, his good fight foundation that he does in Lafayette, Louisiana, building playgrounds for, kids with disabilities, building water wells in Africa. But as a Conor fan, I'm going to be a Conor fan until I get put in the ground. But I think I would have to roll with Dustin. I just feel like he's on a roll. He's on a mission. Does Conor have the heart? I want to see the Conor of old. I don't want to see the Conor that's like, well, it's fighting season. Season. I'm like, dude, you're either in the business or you're out. Dana White said, when you say you're retired, you're retired. Does Conor have that hunger again? Does he have that hunger from 2014 to 17 when the dude was literally untouchable? We'll see. And I don't know if that's going to happen. I think Dustin's just going to wear him down again. It'll be probably a fourth round TKO. But like I said, Conor, he's proven us wrong so many times. I would not be surprised to see a first round knockout, him going down the mic, calling out random fighters. Masvidal will probably be there. You'll see Covington there. You'll see maybe a Nate Diaz sighting on Twitter.
I would expect Diaz to be there.
Yeah, well, Conor, Conor calls out opponents, and he has 5 storylines already ready to go. So we'll see who gets the call out if he wins.
I think he has a different opponent for every round he might win in. First round knockout, calls out this person. Second, this person. It's Conor McGregor. Yeah. But Derrick, we're down to about a minute here. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been good. For a minute left, Derrick will join me every Tuesdays. Check out his Twitter at go plug your Twitter, plug your Instagram quickly for me.
Derrick Q42 on the Twitter machine. You probably saw the retweet by the Bench Sports, and shout out to the Bench Sports on the TikTok machine. Instagram, it's DQ42 Golf Life. Facebook, it's my name. Snapchat, it is the Dr. Golf Train 1. And of course, my blog is justakidfromsalinas.com.
Check that out, Derrick. Before we go, I have moved into second place in your Instagram pick'em, and there's lots more wins coming, baby, after a slow start. But check out my Twitter at SJSU Max Miller. Check out the Spear that we're connected with. Check us out. Keep listening to the Bench Sports. We got great shows coming up this evening. It's been fun. Derrick, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a ton of fun today. And Derrick, I'll see you next Tuesday.